All right, I did go ahead and start the Zoom meeting,
Oh, okay.
just so we could see if anybody was present. Okay, there we go. All right.
Update. Do you want this on audio or yours with audio?
Didn't we decide yours worked better?
They can be a little bit closer.
Hey.
Oh, I didn't like. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't look on. Oh, get right here. Okay.
Hold on.
Oh, okay. Okay. And then, Jamila, she was right there. And she's got to get confirmed. She had fulfilled that in 2020. So, but we need to.
That's
So
right.
we
Yeah,
gotta
so
clean that
she's-
up a little bit.
She's not truly official college.
Well, yeah, and she could have been, but I don't know if that when the town council have went and read it that evening, they referenced, because they didn't have it written down. But that was Amy Parker, she was recommended for urban forestry, so they're going to address that in February. So, but they appointed Amy in February for the urban forestry, Carol for the February. So she said that she was, I will still come tonight, so she's gonna sit out in the audience.
Technicalities, I
Yes,
tell
I
you.
know, and it's kind of crazy. So, yeah, we're like, well, we need to call you, just want to give you a heads up, and that we kind of all kind
Well,
of realization.
I think have to, I'm like, oh.
Yes, yes, and yours was on the sheet, it just,
They didn't have to
they
read it.
didn't have hers on it, and your spot was the town council president, so it didn't have to have.
Yep.
But then the other one has to be approved by town council, so hi, Carol. Oh, yeah. Get there.
And so. I went at. Did I vote on the meetings when I wasn't necessarily present?
Did you vote on, say that again, for?
Well, so we would be reading the previous meetings to approve. I
Oh,
wouldn't approve if I wasn't.
yes, no, we've had that pop up a few times where
I don't think the
heard
new
them.
incoming would, because
Mhm.
when you're not
Yeah.
present,
Yes.
you wouldn't
Yes.
necessarily know what
Mhm.
to.
Because we
scrutinize.
had that happen with our Friends of Falls Park where Steve Wills had made a motion to approve the minutes. And then he later realized, oh, I wasn't present at that meeting. He goes, I was absent. So we had to redo our,
And it would be the same as an incoming as well.
That's-
Technically, I wouldn't.
that is
I
very
wouldn't
true.
even.
Yes. So
You can't do a motion.
We
I wouldn't
will-
even like.
on that
approve,
note,
just.
because Carol was here at the last meeting, so probably what we'll need to do is go ahead and table those. I'll mention that to
I think
Kayla.
that's
Thank you for
something
bringing
we
that
just
up.
want to clean up the.
Mhm.
Consistent.
Yeah.
Just so it's
Mhm.
never an issue.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, Kyle was present at the last meeting and Jamila was virtual. And so was Kirby. So, or no, Kirby, I think was here in person last month, but
Well, I think we'll just have, because we have a quorum with Jenny, but we don't have a quorum with the fact that she wasn't here last month. So it would just be Jamila, Kirby, and then, well, and then Kyle's not here. So, and then you could, but I think February will be okay, but we'll need to table it for tonight. Yeah. Yeah. Our heads were spinning today with all the different, we're like, oh, no, we've got to get this taken care of. And I think she's also going to likewise recommend tabling the officers as well.
That makes
And,
sense.
yeah, and make that this.
I mean, it's really not pressing that we
Yeah.
know
Mhm.
between now and.
Yes, yeah. And then I think for the findings of fact,
Oh.
she doesn't know if they can sign on behalf, if they state so, if they agree verbally, or if they can't really sign. So she's gonna clarify that with Jeff in the meeting tonight, so. Let me just, I'm gonna give her a heads up on
Is
that.
that literally just signing something? Is that,
Mhm. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, yes. But she had mentioned that with Jamila and Kirby participating virtually,
Oh,
can we get a verbal approval and then she can somehow sign, or do we have to just wait until they come in and sign and put it into effect? So yeah, like you said, a lot of different technicalities, but we want to make sure our
We
T's are crossed and our I's are dotted.
Absolutely. Through- Yep.
yeah.
I got so busy, I wasn't even paying attention to time, and I was working in pajamas and crazy hair. And I had taken my son, he had a private lesson for Taekwondo. He had it right when virtual lesson was done. And I got on like just sweats, but I didn't care about it. To drop him off, get back, and I'm busy doing stuff because we had new filings coming in and it's the beginning of the year. So we actually do some readings on bills,
Oh,
House bills, Senate bills that come
Yeah.
in.
yeah.
And right now, you know, they're so we actually read them, edit, give our thoughts and opinions to our chief of staff, who then sits in on.
Jeff, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Our opinions don't always go through. but-
Loud and clear.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. All right. Kayla will be up here in a few moments. We're going to give it a few minutes. We've got Jamila and Kirby McCrocklin. They're going to be participating virtually.
All right.
I don't see
So-
them yet, but we'll give them a few minutes.
All righty.
Right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I woke up this morning, is all I could do to have my coffee, and it got cold because I was like,
That's when you know you're busy, if you don't even drink your coffee.
and my husband's like,
No, that's okay. Yeah.
Okay. Or you can have a presentation, but I guess we'll have it up there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine.
I need to start bringing my glasses.
my husband's boss got nixed today.
Is what?
His boss got let go. And so
Where does he work?
I'll say Interactive Intelligence is, they were bought out by a company out of San Francisco called Genesis. It's software.
Okay, I've heard of Genesis. Yeah.
Well, Interactive Intelligence was like one of the biggest IT places in Indy. Don Brown, he sold it for, his portion was 250 million, and immediately gave 20 million to IU and
Oh.
IU Med, and then started up a new company.
So his boss got.
Yes, and
That's
so
awesome.
then they had all hands-on meetings to be told. Then he drove up to a restaurant to meet his boss, and then they had another all hands-on meeting to be told who. So he was just like,
No, that's, yeah, that's.
And then I looked at him, I'm like, oh, I've got
Doesn't
a
make, it doesn't
competition.
make you feel real warm fuzzy.
That's the IT world, though.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, I just promoted Jamila to panelist. Hey, Jamila.
Is this echoing?
There we go. You're gonna see Jeff is present as well. All right. Jeff, can you hear us?
Yes.
So our chairman and our vice chairman are both absent tonight. Actually, Tammy Bowman has resigned from this board. So we've kind of got a sparse board tonight. Jeff, who should officially start this meeting?
Well, we do have to elect a chair and a vice chair. So if that, we could just open the floor, you or I could just open up the floor to nominations to be the chair. And then whoever wins that particular election can do the vice chair and the secretary.
Okay. And I don't think we have a secretary for this board, just the chair and vice chair.
The secretary could be Denise. It doesn't have to be a member of the BZA necessarily. The statute allows us to name one. We don't have to. You're absolutely right.
Whatever the BZA wants to do on that one is fine with me. I know that we do have Carol Hanna's seat has not been officially reappointed yet. And Kyle Eichhorn could not join tonight. He had to be at actually another public meeting as part of his job. So,
Okay, so do you think we should wait till next time, or can I go ahead and nominate someone for chairperson?
I think I'll certainly defer to Kayla, but it would be perfectly fine to nominate the chair and the vice chair. They don't have to be present. Kyle can certainly be nominated. We could elect him in what they call it, absentia or something like that. We could put him in there, but however you want. Any of the right now we just have 4 members, so any of the 4 are eligible to be the chair and the vice chair.
I think though he probably
Yes.
should be able to consent if he wants to do it or not, you know? I mean, I would like to nominate Kyle. But I mean, you know, I don't know who else is there. Somebody sitting up there, who is that?
Hi.
Hi.
But as long as he is willing to do so, he's not here.
He could certainly decline the nominate or the if he gets it, he doesn't have to serve. So we're not drafting him. If you guys want Kyle to be the chair and you vote him in and he says no, we'll elect another one in February.
Okay.
Or not.
I mean, who do we have to choose from? It's Kyle and then Let's see. Carol Hannah. And Kirby McCrocklin.
Kirby just joined us.
Hi, Kirby.
I think Kirby's still muted.
Didn't somebody get appointed to the BZA last week at the town council meeting?
Jeff, do you want to go ahead and fill it in on that?
Yeah, there was a procedural error on that. There was a nomination. Chet made a nomination and, but the council didn't vote on it. And, well, Chet can make a nomination as a member of the board. It was a town council appointee, not a town executive appointee. And so that person hasn't been officially put on the BZA yet. So we can't have them we cannot seat them at this meeting until the town council itself, rather than just Chet votes to approve that nominee or a new nominee, whoever, whatever the town council ends up deciding. So that's why we have the open spot tonight. And then we have a vacancy is what I should say. And then with Mr. Eichhorn unable to attend, we're down to 3 voting members.
Okay. Well, what would the other present members like to do? Shall we go ahead and nominate somebody, or would you like to table this for next time? Kirby is paused, muted. Kirby is muted.
Kirby, could you unmute?
Now can you hear me?
Yes, now.
Hey,
Hi.
my thought is that we should maybe pause till next time.
Okay,
So short on members.
okay, and Carol Hannah? She agreed?
Not able to vote, correct?
Yeah.
That's correct.
Now, Jeff, for clarification, I am able to vote tonight.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are serving your position as one of the 5 spots belongs to the plan commission member. That's you. The plan commission put you on there, so you're legal.
Yeah, as the president appoint. Okay, yep. So there's technically 4 of us.
Correct. We have 1 vacancy, and that's from, the one that the town council will have to fill.
Well, I thought you said 3 voting earlier, but there's technically,
Kyle is not.
okay.
present.
I
Okay.
probably did.
I just wanted clarification. So we have 1 person that is saying maybe we should just wait until next month. Because we don't have Carol that is on here. Kyle's not here present tonight. And possibly we might have that vacancy filled by next month as well. So I actually would also agree that we could hold off until next month as well. I don't know that it really makes a difference between now and then on any matters. If anyone wants to correct me there.
Jeff, does it matter if we table it until next month? We still run this meeting and vote on our 1 item of new business?
You can vote, you have a quorum, or the quorum could decide to table the matter until the board is full. That's, you can certainly do that. I don't know the time sensitivity of the petition before you.
Okay, so we have got to elect chairman and vice chairman before we hear our new business tonight.
Yeah, the statute says that that has to be done.
And we can nominate that and then later if needed.
Absolutely. It's not unheard of for that to happen, for a person unable to be at the first meeting to be named to one of the offices.
So last year Kyle was president, correct?
No, Tammy Bauman.
Oh, Tammy was, and Kyle was vice.
No, I was vice.
Okay. And we are thinking Kyle as president?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, just based on this past year, I mean, this was my first year on the board, and I feel he's very knowledgeable and he knows a lot about different aspects of engineering and such. But I mean, of course, I don't know, you guys, so, and the new person who might be appointed as well. So, if you want to wait, we can, but for the matter ahead of us, if you want to just do something so we can move it along, that's fine. I'm open.
Kayla, do you know Kyle's other appointments as far as,
I know he's on plan commission as well.
but as far as his roles, if he's been appointed president on several of those others, or you might.
It's a good question.
About that just off the top of my head. But if you guys want to go ahead and it just takes one of you to make a motion to nominate somebody that's say here tonight, and then
we can change it if it becomes too much.
Mhm.
I say nominate Kyle, and he can always decline later, and we can regroup and figure out someone else later since we have pressing matters. But I think that's a good nomination as well.
What do you think, Kirby? Are you okay with this?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it.
Okay, I'll second it unless Kirby's second counted, so.
Go ahead.
So is this a roll call?
we can do a roll call. Yep.
Okay.
Jamila Zafar,
Yes.
Kirby
Aye.
McLaughlin,
Kirby McLaughlin,
yes.
Jenny Sisson.
Yes.
So Kyle Eichhorn is the chairman of the BZA. Vice chairman is next. Do we have any nominations?
Jamila, you did that role last year. Is that something, I guess you felt good in?
Well, it was my first time. I think there was one time when Tammy Bauman wasn't here and I kind of led the meeting. So if anyone else is interested, I could do it again. But if somebody else would like to do it, that's fine.
Well, I will nominate you again so you can continue to learn that role.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
I'll second the nomination.
Jamila Zafar,
Okay, yes.
Kyle Eichhorn, not present. Kirby McLaughlin,
Yes.
and Jeff.
Yes.
We approve our meeting minutes. Everybody who's present tonight they weren't present at that last meeting.
We can continue that, the minutes until the next meeting. If push comes to shove and we have trouble getting 3 people there, we could go to a past member or even review a recording of the meeting, and that would enable the new members to vote on it. But that could be tabled tonight if would like to.
Okay. Do we have to make a motion to table the minutes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, make a motion to table the minutes till next month.
I'll make a motion. We table the minutes to next month.
Second that motion.
Yeah, second.
Jeff, do we need to do a roll call or is just the motion?
Yeah, on non-substantive matters like that, I think we're okay without a roll call. When it comes to voting on a petition, I think a roll call vote would be appropriate.
In old business, we've got some findings of fact. Now, I guess, Jeff, we've got another question for you.
Sure.
You mentioned at our last meeting that we signed for the BZA members. If we had several meetings in a row or where they're not here in person, could you go through kind of what our requirements are with the findings of fact and COVID and all that?
Sure. The requirements for a petition in front of you for variances or special uses or things of that nature, you are required by both state law and town ordinance to make findings of fact on, what is it, 3 or 4? I don't have it in front of me, Kayla. Is it 3 or 4 different factors?
For tonight.
Yeah, okay. And they can't be just a recitation of the, one of the things that with, is it injurious to morals, safety, and so on. You can't just repeat, we don't think it's injurious to moral safety of the town. You must make what findings are in the record that allows you to make the particular finding. What evidence is there? And we're not talking about evidence in terms of like a court case in which there's all kinds of rules and things of that nature. But if you believe that a certain variance will reduce property values, you can't just say we think that. What's out there? Your judges, when you're sitting on this board, what was said at the hearing? Was it the petitioner? Did the staff say something? You have an excellent staff that puts a lot of evidence before you, but if they don't mention property values, you can't make that in a finding unless one of the members of the public during the hearing brings that up. So you are required to make your findings based on what's called substantial evidence. Substantial just means there's something of substance there. It could be a report that a person brings in off the internet about the health effects of a solar panel, for example. If you want to, it's up to you if you want, as judges, if you want to believe that evidence over the evidence of the other side. That's your job as the board, but you can't make it up out of your own beliefs or knowledge. It has to be presented to you just like it does a judge. And the staff and I will certainly help you with that and tailor those to the way you would like them to come out once you've heard the evidence.
It's only what is presented before.
Now it can be anything. It can be in paper. It can be spoken at the hearing. It can be presented in an email. It can be in a PDF. It can be in the petition itself. It can be in the staff report. You're not limited on the sources of income, but if nobody mentions property value during the whole hearing, and you say, well, I don't think this person should get the front yard setback because it'll hurt property value, so I'm going to make that finding. That is not proper under the law because property values was never mentioned. So rarely is that a problem, but courts, I've seen more and more lawsuits against BZAs based on the findings of fact. So we just have to be careful and make sure that there's something in our in either the staff report or what's presented by the petitioner or what's presented by the remonstrators that will allow us to reach our findings of fact with substantial evidence.
So the minutes of the meeting aren't enough. I mean, it's normally everything that's discussed are in minutes.
The minutes are a resuscitation of what was actually said at the meeting, but they're not a full transcript, and you don't have to go back through a transcript. But you could use the minutes. Yeah, you could. But you don't have to wait for the minutes to be printed to say, well, I heard this doctorate from Harvard talk about why this was a good idea. I believe him. So I'm going to make the finding that, yeah, what he said, and he said this. You don't have to wait for the minutes to come out. You can base it on the testimony of witnesses, and then ultimately that testimony would appear in the minutes, as would everything else. But it's certainly proper for that reason is to a petition, particularly that's difficult or controversial, to table it for a month, to take a look at the evidence that's on the minutes and help you remember, because you're sitting there on contentious issues. You'll have, you don't know which way to come out. And so sometimes it's better to sit back and look and read what the minutes say and think about it. Judges that wear the black robes do that all the time. They take it under advisement, go back and look at the evidence. They don't usually issue a ruling right then. Now, on simple ones you can, but don't be afraid to, take some extra time, review the minutes as was just said, or in some cases you could even get a transcript. So, or review the videos. We have the videos now. That makes it a little bit easier. So there's never a big rush. You are required, this is one more thing, you are required to, at some point, you must come to a decision. So I've seen a couple situations where there's deadlocks in which two members want one result, two members want another one, and the fifth one wants a third result where maybe they don't want to set back as far as one of the other groups. Well, you must at some point come to a 3-vote consensus, or that person can sue the town for not doing its statutory duty. So we can get all kinds of fun on these things. 98% of these don't rise to that level of controversy, but just so you kind of know what you're doing, you're a judge on these cases. You must find evidence, and although we're all in a small town and we know a lot of the people, if there's a petition is coming before you on an issue, it's probably not a good idea to be out talking to them near the property site or something like that. You're not held to the same degree as judges, but at the same token, the statute requires you not to be biased. If you think you're biased on something, feel free to ask me about it. As far as the law, you always can recuse from cases, and if you do recuse, whoever appointed you could put a replacement on there for you for just that case. But ask me or Kayla or Rachel if you have any questions about those kind of things.
So when it comes to signing the findings of fact, should we request that the board members come into town hall? They're not present at the meeting, or can they sign digitally?
They can sign digitally, absolutely. Yep, and also the chair signing himself would be fine as well. We don't need to have all 5 members sign it. We would just need a vote that shows a majority of the members voted for the findings of fact that he would sign.
So who actually writes the findings of fact? Is that something we're gonna do, Kayla?
Yes, I generally prepare. So one of the findings of fact I have tonight kind of got missed during the COVID stay-at-home order from the spring. So they're from actually the January 2020 meeting. So Jeff, is that something we can go ahead and take a vote on tonight to approve?
Yes.
Okay. All right. This is for West High Street LLC for 1 High Street, the old lumberyard building. In February of 2020, the conditional use to have a structure with multiple businesses, more than 4, in the downtown business zoning district was approved with the condition that staff will review and approve final landscaping and parking plans before the conditional use may commence. So I guess this is the one that I would like for the board to make a motion to approve. And, so we can sign it and get a copy to the petitioner.
I remember this. I forgot the gentleman's name. Ruhoff, was it, or?
Schulhoff.
Okay, yeah. So did he then have the proper landscaping plan?
They're working on it now. It hit pause for a little while, and they are picking up on it again. And that's the reason I realized we did not have a findings of fact past spring.
Is it in,
No, I have
Okay.
2 copies of it right here, but if I need to, we can, Jeff, can I like upload this to Google Drive and we can kind of have the board have time to review this and then do it more administratively, I guess.
Yes, that would be fine.
Okay, so I will upload 4 old findings of fact then to Google Drive and allow the board time to review them. And then Jeff, if they all agree that they look good, what's the next step?
If we could get consent individually from each person, and then the chair could sign them, and either digitally or in person, and that would take care of it.
Okay. All right, so I will work on that this week.
Thanks.
Did we need to approve the?
Jeff, are we good to move on to new business?
Yes, ma'am.
Ellie, you're the vice chair now. I guess I should leave running the meeting to you.
Hi. Okay, so next item. Falls subdivision, Silverthorne Homes wants to increase lot coverage request to 56 lots.
I'll pull up our presentation for this. I need to share the screen.
Are there representatives there?
Yes, Caitlin Stover is here tonight representing the petition. And I've noticed in our attendees, it looks like Scott Beck and Christian Rector are also present. All right, so here's our presentation for the night. Okay. So as you guys know, the Falls subdivision is located on Old 132. The road out onto Old 132, the entrance drive is Cayuga Drive. Excuse me, I did not put a aerial view showing kind of where this is in proximity to downtown. Does anybody else need more description as to where the Falls is located? Or are you all present? You all
No.
aware?
I would. Do you have something you can show?
You can, Jamila, do you see the map I'm showing you?
I don't see, I only see the application.
Oh, okay. Here we go. All right. How about now? Good.
Yes.
All right, so here's the Falls of Pendleton at Old 132. You can see Cayuga Drive, Pekin Way, Pintail Way, Mallard Drive, and Teal Way. And a replat that happened in, I think, 2018 was a stub up to the north, so that in the future it could connect to any development that perhaps occurs in the ultimate north. You can see Blue Spruce Drive also has a similar stub into this. So downtown, you get onto Old 132, And it takes you right to the north end of Main Street, or if you continue on Fall Creek Parkway, it stops you into North Pendleton Avenue, right at the falls, and turns into Falls Park. So that is the location of the falls. It is zoned single family, and it was approved in 2008 by the Plan Commission with variances allowing smaller lot size. I believe the smallest lots in this area are about 9,000 square feet. And they are 80 feet wide, which was a variance from the 100-foot minimum. There are at present about 10 homes permitted in the falls, as you can see when you drive up through this area. So let's go back to our other.
Kayla, is this a new land purchase or is this part of the original purchase?
Well, this is this area has been in town for quite a while. I'd say since, I'm not sure how long, but it's been in town for a long time. The development, however, was approved back in 2008, and no sooner than it was approved, the Great Recession occurred, and it lay dormant until 2008. So.
But this isn't a new purchase of land by the developer. It's part of the original purchase of land.
So the request by the petitioner is that to increase the lot coverage from 30%, which is standard for single-family lots, to 50%. Given the narrower lot size and the smaller lot size that was approved back in 2008, they hit 30% really quickly. And mostly out there, we've seen only 2-story homes built, and some of those have already gotten really close to that 30% mark. Things that count toward a lot coverage include any impermeable surfaces, so the concrete driveway and the area that is covered by a roof. Other items might include concrete patio or impermeable patio surfaces. If they were to do a really nice hard surface landscape, that would count. So if you're hitting it if you're up at that 30% before you're even building the house, or when you're about at that point, it gets a little difficult to put in those later on items like a patio or maybe a pool, something like that, or add on to the driveway, for instance.
Did you say they were increasing that to 50%?
That is the request. It is currently at 30% the current requirement. So the ranch plans they have will not fit on the lot at that 30% lot coverage. So here's one of the plot plans that has had to be on hold because of that 30% lot coverage. You can see this one's at 33%. It's a 26-foot setback, which is 1 foot off the required building setback line. So we're not seeing a lot of extra concrete the driveway. It is not pushing any side setback lines or rear setback lines. It's got some room to spare on those as well. But yet it's already exceeded the lot coverage maximum. You can also see that this does not include a back patio or back porch. It has a 3-by-3 foot stoop. So certainly the owner will later on want to add on into the backyard, and that will further increase the lot coverage once they decide to do, say, a covered porch or a nice patio. All right. Whoop, sorry, I went too far. Here's another plot plan, same issue. This one is at about 37%. It is a 9,500 square foot lot. It features a screen patio, which is why it's bumped up a little more. And once again, we're not super far off the road. We're not really increasing the length of that driveway or anything. It's just,
Kayla, you give a comparison to the historic district, which is kind of, apples to oranges comparison, quite frankly. But yet around the corner, we have the Pines. And the Pines are not the old part, but so not talking about the Deerfield, but the Pines part. Those are generally 9,000 and some 10,000, a little over. So very similar. Do you know the maximum lot coverage there that was approved?
I believe that is also at 30%. But yes, I did include the comparison to the historic residential zoning district, which has a much smaller minimum lot size and a 50%. We also permitted 50% lot coverage in Carrot Glen on lots that were not much larger than 7,200. I believe they were maybe 7,600 square foot minimum. Meeting minutes from 2008. At the time, staff kind of gave an overview of that issue and gave a breakdown of the other variances that they were seeking at that time, such as the density, the lot size, the lot width, and the front yard setback.
And you say Carrot Glen is 50%?
Yes. However, nowhere in these meeting minutes from 2008 can I find any reference to the lot coverage. It's my belief that this was an oversight by the planning staff and the petitioners at the time, that they just didn't think that lot coverage would be an issue. Otherwise, they certainly would have asked for it at this time along with these other items.
Do we have any language regarding, any deviations as far as with the coverage, the actual dwelling versus the other surfaces regarding, your patios, your driveways, because visually, those two make a difference as well. So I'm not talking about, I know it still affects runoff, but as far as visually with crowding, because we can compare and talk about what was approved at Carrot Glen, but we also made Carrot Glen add shared space, parks, walkways, green spaces. So that's again, not apples to apples. So when we start comparing, we also need to not forget those things because those also become very important. So those are things to keep in mind. This is set up much differently. There's not a grand entrance. There's not nice signage. There's no shared spaces, no walkways. It's just lots. And when you start taking up all the space, especially then if we just put a blanket on the 50%, and then people build bigger homes, they do wider ranches that take up the space, then you get into those crowding issues And do we want that aesthetically? And I think those are real things that as a board, as a town, when we, talk about our unified ordinances, we need to think through these things. So that's why I'm asking all these questions, and I'm really asking them, it's really more statements, I guess, food for thought here.
I should mention that, well, our options tonight, the board's options are to approve as presented, approve with modifications, or deny. Also, if you feel like you need more time, of course, continuing this is an option. There is a landscaping plan that is approved by Rachel and I. There was originally a landscaping easement along 132. It has not been installed yet. So examples of conditions that could be put in with this variance approval might be that relating to the installation of that landscaping or signage. There is a sign easement to that entrance. You could approve less than the 50% request. If you feel that that would adequately meet the intent. So there are a couple different options that the board can discuss and think about here. I would like to give Caitlin a chance to present anything she's got tonight. If you guys have heard enough from me.
I wanted to bring those things up as you were, going through your list here, as we're basically, when we're putting the findings here, I don't want our findings to leave out historical data that previous decisions have been made. And I think that's something we need to make sure we're cognizant about, and we're keeping good records as to why when we approved Carrot Glen, the shared spaces was in there. So as we grow and as we have these pockets of growth, we really need to have this, I'll say the caveat as to this was approved, but we also had these other conditions. And so when those things are coming up, they're not lost. So we have that understanding. And I guess, looking at this, it doesn't give that full picture.
Well, I agree with you. And part of my issue is if you go to 50%, things are going to change with time. And with time, aesthetically, you would have to think people are going to want to add. Maybe add on a room, outbuildings, things of that nature. Now you're taking up even more of the lot.
That is included in that 50% and is part of the reason that we are bringing this up too, is because if we're already hitting 30, before we see that stuff, that's
and it might be in her presentation too. So I don't know if we want her to present and then after that we can ask more questions, but yeah, some of that, it would certainly make a difference as well.
I personally like to hear the presentation.
Yeah, let's hear the presentation.
And so I can hear the details of what they've got to say, because in 2008, I wasn't involved. And I know there's other areas of the town where we're doing the same type work, but I would really like to see the plans on this before we move forward. That's my opinion.
I'm gonna turn it over to Caitlin, and this is mostly gonna be a verbal presentation tonight. So.
Yeah, just to provide a little more context and background. My name is Caitlin Dofer. I'm the entitlement manager for Silverthorne Homes. We also have Christian Rector online. He's our VP of Acquisition and Entitlement. And then Scott Beck is also on. He's our salesperson out there. This community, like Kayla said, was approved back in 2008. Silverthorne was not the developer or builder at the time. We came in 2018, and this is 10 years after the plat and construction plans have been approved. And so we have bought lots from the developer out there. Our ranch plans specifically, because they are deeper, just being the 1 story, those are the plans that we've run into the lot coverage issue with. So like Kayla said, that's why we've seen a lot of 2 stories out there. The 2 plot plan examples that Kayla showed, even though they're not very far over the 30% lot coverage, the ranch plan, that's at 37%. It's getting up there to the point, if we're just looking at our floor plans, homeowners are never going to add their own sunroom or patio or pool, then I think our lot coverage would be fine at 40%. But we're trying to look into the future, knowing that as people settle into their homes and they want to make it their own, that they're going to add those customizations of, making the backyard the way they want it to, whether it's patio, hardscaping, a pool. So we just don't want homeowners to then come back here again asking for their own variances. So that's why we're asking for the 50% lot coverage, just planning ahead for the future.
So did you say that you think you would be okay with 40%? And that includes the patios or the addition of an outbuilding or whatever?
If you're just looking at our floor plans and assuming that homeowners are never going to add anything themselves, then we're okay at 40%.
And is that including a patio on your build?
I believe it includes our patio options and sunroom options.
What are the type of questions or items are your clients wanting for their backyard that you see taking up the rest of that space?
We have sunroom options. So that's something that they can choose. They can also choose a screened-in porch or their own patio. But it's really on an individual basis what they do after that. So it's kind of hard to tell what people will want to do in the future.
And Kayla, additional things that people come into town to get a permit for that in the future would take up that space would be?
Usually it's backyard improvements or driveway expansions.
Okay.
Now, in a subdivision like this, one big item is the HOA, because their covenants may have a list of items that are already, have already been ruled out, like mini barns perhaps. So will the Falls have an HOA?
The Falls does have an HOA, and Scott, if you're on, are you able to speak to if mini barns are allowed? I want to say no.
Scott, I just allowed you to talk.
Yes, actually, they are allowed upon the approval currently from the developer. The developer's still in charge until the HOA is formulated. They're asking for a sketch, rendering with dimensions, and then all of the materials involved, and that will launch an approval process. And then, of course, it'll be all up to the board, you all as well.
But all mini barns don't need a permit hold based on size, correct?
Currently, we have at least a $50 minimum permit fee for 120 feet and under, just to make sure that placement is in fact on the lot.
120 foot and under? Yes. Okay.
Now, that was not the case for years until we realized we had a issue with creeping mini barns, especially if there was a point.
Yep. Okay, all right. Because you can buy a pretty substantial size, or you could, mini barn, and not have to come up and pull a permit at one point, so that's why I that would take up a fair amount of that space. So I'm just trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together
Yeah,
here.
absolutely.
Do my math here.
I know one of the items back in '08, the falls, even when it was under a different developer, made the commitment to be no vinyl.
Mhm.
So it is a hardy or only or brick community. So they already have done that in order to gain those other.
I would assume since mini barns are allowed, it's all brand new material and there's things in the covenants that guide that.
Yeah, the covenants would guide it. Scott, can you talk to the specifics?
Yes, they're not ultra specific about the outside, but it has to resemble the home. It cannot compete with the size of the home or the garage. It must be secured. It cannot be aluminum or anything. It has to be a semi-permanent, if not permanent structure, likely with a pad of concrete or some sort of pebble beneath, and has to have shingles on top. So they're pretty specific about what they're looking for. They've not put a restriction on size, but again, I think lot coverage comes into play because if they're, if the cap is 40, 45 and the house itself is 38, then they're really not going to have a lot of room for a sizable structure.
In your presentation here, I keep bugging up, so I'll just ask the question. The spacing in between homes, I know it's on here somewhere, but as we fill up, what have we come to for the offsets in between the homes?
It looks like it's 10% of the lot width. So in this case, up there, if the lot is 80 feet wide, then you're looking at an 8-foot side setback.
And what's that in Carrick?
In Carrick, Glen, it's a flat 5 side each lot.
Okay.
How many of these lots are like behind each other? That they'll, their backyards will face each other?
That one road. Jamila, there's only one because it's really a big, like I'll say a track, a big oval.
Uh-huh.
So the center, those are back to back. And there's a few that touch the development of the Pines. And that's it. Now in the future, if the one field is developed, there could be some homes there, but really very minimal.
Right, and those homes that are in the center of the community where the backyards are back to back, those lots are already sold. So the remaining lots are around the perimeter of the project.
Now, in this Reagan, just so I have an understanding, how much bigger is it than the model that's sitting there?
Let's see, so our model is the Jefferson, which is a ranch, and that is a little over 2,200 square feet. The Reagan is 2,200 square feet.
Oh, so really close.
But that's just the base. So if you add a sunroom, then that will increase the square footage.
I'm going to share my screen again. Got the plans pulled up. everyone see that?
It says it's black, okay.
So this was the original subdivision plat. The replat kind of just focuses on that top corner. But the general layout of the subdivision and most of the lots still look like this. So at the entrance, you can see the sign easements on each corner. The roads were renamed as well because Hunsinger Farm had similar road names at that time. And we've got a 20-foot drainage and utility easement and landscaping easement along Old 132. But I know there are plans for.
There are plans or there's some developed.
There is a plan, but it's through Coronado, I believe, because it's Steve Surveys has provided it to us. So I'm not sure if that has anything to do with Silver Thorn.
Where, can you say that again, where?
And this is where the developer of 2008 and Silverthorne today kind of intersect on where we have conditions between these two.
We are just buying lots, so anything beyond that is not in our purview.
Are you here or Hunsinger?
Here.
Is it okay if I go ahead and ask questions?
Yeah.
So the landscaping along 132 then is not your responsibility at all? Is that what you're saying?
I think it would fall within the HOA's maintenance. But I'm not 100% sure.
But doesn't, when the HOA gets started, isn't it funded by developer money initially?
There's probably a little more to this than
She would know.
than Silverthorne alone. Yeah, I would probably know and get that.
Christian, would you have any background on that?
Let me make sure we have Christian unmuted.
Sorry, what was the question?
It's about landscaping along and whether that would fall under the HOA's maintenance.
Yes, the HOA will have a budget. It's a little weird in how that was approved, how it is on the lots within an easement. But if it's, we want the HOA to be responsible for maintaining that along the frontage. That way individual lot owners don't go in and just decide to rip it out or anything. That's why it's within an easement there.
And the developer would start up that.
Sorry, say that again.
The developer, so the company that we're buying these lots from, that entity would start up those HOA funds.
Yes.
And Christian, is Coronado responsible for installing the landscaping, or is that Silverthorne?
We agreed to do it as a part of purchasing the lots to make sure that it goes in correctly.
And is that plan done? What you're going to do? Just
As we build those lots, it will go in. If we go in and put it all in today, as we move the dirt and put the lots in, we'll damage it. But I think we have the landscape plan that Kayla referenced earlier.
And that landscape, is signage part of that?
The signage would still be through the developer, but I think that, Kayla, do you remember if it's specifically referenced on those plans?
There was, I don't believe it is. I don't believe it is, no.
So the developer did not make any signage commitments?
Beyond the easement and maybe a small reference to a sign on the plan, but I have not seen a recent drawing or rendering, although there was one submitted back in the way.
For my knowledge, just, because obviously I wasn't on this board in '08. Why is the previous person still involved? And I guess I assumed you purchased this and you had full control. I don't understand this quasi issue going on here. So I need it broken down in a very kindergarten manner.
The relationship between us and the developer?
Why is Coronado still involved? I thought it was sold.
So we have bought individual lots from them. Coronado took the plans through. They are the ones that have done all the development, and we are purchasing the individual lots from them as a part of a lot purchase agreement. So we have to buy so many per month as we sell the houses.
Okay, so you didn't buy the whole thing from them.
Correct.
It's parsed out.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, so then they would need to also be present, because technically the lots you're presenting right now are owned by them, right? These undeveloped lots are actually theirs.
That some of them, yes, some of them are ours.
So technically they would need to be here asking for variance.
Do we not have the owner's consent form signed?
I just want to make sure that this is a little different, I guess. So I want to make sure all the players are involved, that I'm understanding things are flowing the way we need to, quite honestly.
So if you're saying you want to see Coronado's own signed owner consent form, that should have been a part of the application. If it's not, we can get that over shortly, but they know we're filing for this. They obviously, it's in their interest for us to buy lots from them. So they are in support.
Okay. Again, I'm trying to understand this relationship here, because usually it's one person that is developing it all out, and when we're asking about some of these things, I'm able to get answers. So this is just a little, I'll use a computer terminal, kludgy. So you're just helping me walk through it all here.
Nope, no problem. Yeah, it used to be a lot more common for third-party developers to develop and sell lots to builders than it is now.
And then we've got this big time gap here, so.
So looking here at this, so I'm looking at 36 and 35, that's going to back into 34. And then the lots in the middle, their backyards are going to face each other. Am I reading this right?
That is correct.
Okay, so the only place, people are going to be building is basically building in their backyard, right?
Yes and no. As Kayla explained earlier, this impacts the entire lot. It's all impermeable surfaces. So, things as simple as a third car garage, we have to comply with the side yard setbacks. We can't get past 8 feet close to the lot line, but you're not just adding the coverage of the third car garage. You then have to have the driveway that extends out to it. So that's where these things, they get piecemeal together, and they slowly add up. Yes, after construction, after we sell, 99% would be people adding on a deck or a patio in their backyard. But it affects more than just that. You also have rear yard setbacks in the backyards to prevent people from being able to take a patio all the way to the lot line. I can't remember exactly what a rear yard setback is, but there's a line that they can't cross and put a permanent structure past that setback line. So you don't have people building right on top of each other back to back.
That rear setback is 30.
Yep. So they can't, even regardless of the lot coverage issue, you can't build anything closer to 30 feet to your rear yard lot line.
So back in 2008, when the engineers looked at this in terms of drainage, I'm guessing they were using the assumption there would be 30%.
So they probably would, but permeable surfaces make a very, very, very minute difference in terms of the drainage calcs. I mean, when you think about the house, it's all of that still dumping down into gutters, into the yard. A little bit of it might go on the driveway out to the street. But in terms of your lot coverage, your drainage calcs for 100-year storms and those significant rain events, you're talking like hundreds, thousands of decimal points in those.
Okay. Are you done with the presentation?
Yes, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
I'm actually wondering if this is something that Kyle should be present at.
Well, I was thinking, I don't have enough information to, I have more questions as I look at things. I really need to think about what we've done throughout the rest of town, because every decision we make sets a precedent.
Yes.
I think we need to really look at not just our historic district, but surrounding the decisions we've made here. Looking at what our unified ordinance development kind of guiding us. There's some things with this development that is older. We approved Carrick Glen on a whole different set of standards, quite frankly. And we did so because there's a lot of green space. And that was a game changer, quite frankly. So
Did we make any commitments as far as trees being planted? I'd be very interested too in that, what that landscaping plan is. It's been a long one too.
and even, you know, between the shared homes. And so it's not even at the expense of the individual homeowners, you know, because and the homeowners between, I think quite possibly the homeowners at the Pines, these touch some of the Pines. And this wasn't approved this way originally when these current those Pines homeowners at the time, it was approved at 30 and not 50. That's a little bit different, or a lot different, quite frankly. They didn't sign on to that at the time either. And I know we did set a precedent with Carrick Glen. Everyone at the Pines that those homes touched did get to be listened to. There were meetings. They did get their input. The Pines came to the table, or Carrick Glen came to the table with commitments on
So,
plans.
so I understand that. And if you guys need more information, and we can certainly come back. Looking, but I want to make sure we understand the process here. We're not asking for a rezoning and change of architectural commitments or any of that. We're simply asking for a variance that, as Kayla mentioned earlier, we believe was overlooked on the original approval. I mean, this is ultimately going to benefit the Pines and having larger and more expensive homes built here. We have floor plans that we can currently build, but we're trying to add diversity to the homes and add value to the neighborhood. So I understand the comparisons to Carrot Glen, but this isn't, we're not asking for rezoning. We're already committed to hardy plank siding, and we have brick commitments and everything there. This is just, we're talking about the coverage of the lot. And it's not specific to depth. That's and how close we can go to the Pines either. We already have the rear yard setback. It's just, can we have third car garages because we need a driveway to get there? Can our homeowners put on patios? And can a few of our most expensive floor plans be built?
And also part of the process is, so everyone within 300 feet of the project was notified. We haven't had anyone reach out to us. Kayla, has anyone reached out to the department?
But it still incorporates mini barns. It still incorporates possibly a bigger house, taking up more space, so then more density, it's more dense, right? So there are some other factors that it does encompass, and it still sets a precedent for us, right? So there's some things we need to think about. Because we want to be consistent with decisions we're making and the input from our townspeople. And that's who ultimately I represent. And I have to keep that in mind always. Yeah.
Is this the last expansion, or is there another expansion after this one?
This is this subdivision that has been platted.
I'm sorry,
There's no expansion. This is the one and only phase.
there is another expansion after this one?
No, there's not.
Okay, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Kirby, we do always plan for additional neighborhoods, especially in areas like this where there is a vacant field to the north and other drives are stubbed into it. So that's why Mallard Drive was stubbed into that field to the north. Was just to keep our options open should that develop. Sure. And that could be any number of developers up there.
Do we have plans for a bike or walking path along Route 32?
There is currently part of a 6-foot sidewalk, but that is something that has changed over the years. The original plan was that a path or a 6-foot sidewalk or something would go between two lots in the Pines, actually, and connects, provide a pedestrian connection across those neighborhoods into Falls Park. However, in the time between 2008 and 2018, the Pines built out. Any sort of access was never platted, and we were pretty confident that the homeowners in the Pines would not would not really want a walking path between two houses that were not built with that. Yeah, and we actually had used that as leverage to have the replat done in the north corner of this subdivision, so that we do have that stub out in future connection options. I believe the landscaping plan has walking paths along 132 but they would dead end.
Yeah. So who would be responsible for building that?
That would be,
That's us since it's on the lot.
And is that in your plan? That's gonna be done. I mean, those are the types of things that give us some of that give and take of, you know, feeling, I mean, there's some compromising and you can, you know, you give some areas, but you gain something as well. And to me, having that walkable, you know, even if it's the dead ends right now, with a plan to eventually be able to get into downtown so that people can ride their bikes or walk or anything is important in our future.
Because what's gonna happen, you're gonna have families and those kids.
I mean, I drive
Are
that
gonna
every
be
day. That's a
going on
horrible corner
132.
coming around there. I drive, that's,
I know,
I mean,
it makes me nervous. So I think at this point, we think we need to understand landscaping of the commitments, what's going on in the front, have a better understanding of that for the rest of the board that would be present next month. An understanding of the HOA rules for what can and can't go into the backyard, such as patios, placement of the mini barns, what mini barns are constructed of. Even, I don't know if a house is not currently built with that third garage, if the HOA even has rules on later on if one is added, how that looks, I know some don't allow it to project forward of the current. It has to be either even or set in. So if that is in the HOA, I don't know because I'm not as familiar with this addition. If your third driveway, some don't allow it to come all the way up to the road. It has to angle, so then that allows a little more green space because you really don't need that full driveway. You just
Yeah,
need.
that's how we typically do it,
So
cutting it back.
if there's any, because we have to have that documentation in front of us to make this decision. So if any of that information come before us, I'm not leaving anything out here.
is there any option that we could say there are certain lots that can't be? I mean, I don't
Yeah,
know
if you
which ones, I mean,
a few of those
say
look
some could
skinnier.
be more than up to 50 and some can't. I don't know if that's,
yeah.
I wouldn't know how to judge that right now, but if that's an option, that might be something that would help us kind of like
Area size, I think the smallest one is about 9,500 square feet. And then the largest one is upwards of 21,000 square feet.
So we wouldn't want 50% on the 21,000 square foot. To me, that would seem very, dense to have a big, huge, urban system.
And even because again, I'm not familiar if there has to be differences of homes as far as you know, so they're not crowded based on a 2-story and the next one has to be a ranch. I'm just not
Just a
familiar.
variety.
So an anti-monotony code.
Yes, there is anti-monotony, and again, that's why we would like to have this variance, is to be able to offer more floor plans and more options, so that we're not building the same few floor plans and having to dance around the anti-monotony requirements.
we'll need everyone present here next month. It's a big ask. It's a big ask, and it's such a,
Okay, so should we entertain a motion to table this for next month?
I second that motion.
You want to make the motion?
Oh, sorry, I make that motion. I couldn't hear you. I thought you, I make that motion to table to next month.
Anyone second?
I'll second the motion.
Jeff, that's all we need, right?
Thank you.
Yes,
That's right. That's all we need.
So.
I'll see you next month.
Together, over next month, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next meeting is February 16th.
Okay,
Thank you. See y'all.
So, oh, can you make a motion to adjourn?
Oh, I will make a motion to adjourn.
okay. A second.
Again,
Thank you very much.
See you guys next month. Oh, and I put a copy of the rules in this month's folder if you guys want to take a look. But it's also in just the general BZA folder. And that way everyone's up to speed on BZA rules.
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Kayla, Kayla,
Yes, Kirby?
I don't have that folder. Could you send directly to my email?
Yeah. And have you had trouble accessing Google Drive?
The information has never been given to me.
Uh-oh.
I mean, I can't see Google Drive, and I was gonna ask my daughter to help me.
Oh, no. Okay, Denise and I will work on that this week and make sure that all of our.
Is it the same as the planning commission?
Yeah, it should be exactly the same as
Okay,
the
all right.
commission. But we'll make sure everyone
Okay,
has.
well, let me, I guess.
It might be us not adding you. Okay, all right. Good night, you guys.
Thank you. All right.
How email